Fire away.
Obviously, the win is the most important stat, but if you're looking at things a quarterback will accomplish throughout the course of a game, scenario, situations, whatever, where does like the end of the half drives, like Lenore's had two of, obviously, last week, where does that rank in like things you can do well and like say, hey, that's a good sign?
Yeah, the NFL, what we would do is we'd break down a couple things. We'd go take all your 2-minute drills, all the third downs, and everything you did in a messy pocket. And that's where we'd start, and we'd look at your win-loss record. And so when you go back and you look at that game, you go back and you say, all right, let's check out these 2-minute drills. Made a lot of good plays and had some big third downs in those 2-minute drills to get us down there and give us a chance to win the game. So, from that standpoint, as a quarterback, we got a lot to improve on still, and he played well. But those are statements. Those are 2-minute things where you have a chance to have the ball within the half. And it's not just the talent. You see poise, confidence, preparation, moment not being too big versus a really good opponent, because they were really good on defense and their pass defense was good to really good defensive line, and to be able to take us down there and get points and win an SEC home game was big.
You guys have been mostly healthy this year, but you just lost a tight end and Brady and a couple others questionable per Shane yesterday. How do you go about kind of not rebuilding but working on that tight end room this week, down some guys?
Yeah, you got to find your best 11, and sometimes that looks different from game to game. I remember the Jacksonville State game last year. We had to play. We're in 31 personnel and 20 personnel and 31 personnel. We had DK, who obviously helped because he was so intelligent. He could do so many different things. So you take the pieces that you have that are healthy, and the unfortunate thing about coaching is you don't know on Monday. You don't need, and then all of a sudden you got to figure out, and then you're juggling, hey, do we have him? Do we not have him? Do we put this play in for him? If he's not here, that's not a good play. Making sure that, if it's a tight end, if it's a running back, how everything else fits together. And those are the puzzle pieces we got to deal with a little bit this week with being nicked up.
They said on the broadcast that when Lenoris was going through the fumble phase that you didn't show him his fumbles, but you showed NFL quarterbacks fumbling. Is that true? And what was the point behind that and that teaching tool?
We definitely showed him his. Yes, so I had to get on those guys because they heard that wrong. He saw it, and it wasn't a fun meeting, and it's not fun when we have to shut the door and watch those things. It's hard because it's technique. But it's just education. Like, we've talked about this on multiple things. Like, he doesn't have a lot of filed reps. He doesn't have a lot of reps banked. So when you can show them other people, it's just another way to emphasize something. Sometimes you say something differently and it hits their brain differently. Even when you're talking about a progression or how to read a coverage, like sometimes the best thing a coach can do is kind of figure out how each person's mind works. And I don't talk to Lenoris the same way I talk to Spence, and I didn't talk to Spence the same way I talked to Robbie Ashford or Jay Cutler, other people. Jay Cutler, I've told you guys this story. We play in Kansas City and he takes a safety. And I get on the phone with him, and I'm like, hey, you can't do that right there. And he's like, oh, what? You don't want me to take an effing safety? You don't think that's smart? And just hangs up the phone. I'm like, oh, all right. So then I get back on the phone later. I'm like, hey, great job on the third down, making the flipper call. Now, we get back to that safety situation. You got to know where your hot is. You got to know where your outlet is. And then, hey, in the next situation, be ready for this. He's like, hey, I like what you did right there. Like, what I do, he's like, stroke, spank, stroke. I like that. Like, that from now, that's how we're going to operate. So you're always finding ways to get through to each person, and sometimes seeing someone else at the highest level doing it. And then I think the 2 weeks ago, unfortunately, it was a big week of quarterback fumbles. There were a lot in college football and the NFL. And, when you're a guy that can extend plays with your legs and make plays with your legs, that's going to happen. And, it's the fight another journey. And everyone wants to talk about ball security and tell him to protect the ball until he's pulling that Houdini stunt at the end of the game, and then everyone's like, yeah, do that more. So there's a cost of doing business, so we try to educate him as much as we can, and sometimes that uses different props and different people and different tape and different situations. So we're just filing things away and letting him understand. He's so smart. Once he figures out why something happens, then in moments that's how we correct those things, is because we keep showing and educating him.
Yeah, kind of going off that with Lenoris breaking out that third down sack, what's kind of your reaction in the moment in the press box when you see him escape out of that and pick up the first down?
Well, I'm mad at him at the time because Brady's wide open and he should check the ball down right there and we're going to get the same result. We said this before. His legs were going to allow him to develop. All right, so if he could just win in the pocket, then we'd sit back there and drop back and do all that stuff. And he's going through his progression. He flushes a little bit earlier than what he should have because Brady's coming wide open on the shallow. And when he breaks out to the right, because the protection was pretty good right there, and Rocky did a great job stepping up and stopping the Mike linebacker running through, and I thought we were solid, and he takes off, and now his ability, his strength, his power to get out of those situations allows him to have success as he's developing as a passer as well. So for him, in my mind, I'm sitting there thinking like, how did we miss that? Don't scramble to your right. To great play, like in your mind, you're like, at the end of the day, like he has some eraser qualities that we got to keep coaching and navigating through the sticky situations that we can get ourselves into as well. But like that's talent and that's strength and that's mom, dad, and God gave him a gift that way.
Obviously had multiple wide receivers step up in big moments the other night. How have you seen that room just really continue to develop this season?
Yeah, I've been really proud of how they've worked. And Nick Harbor, go back to, he makes some big plays to catch the ball, but he also draws 2 holding calls. Well, why does he do that? Because he's learned how to practice. And he runs hard at practice every day. And now you get this big guy that makes a couple plays, but now he's running away from people. Well, you get these DBs that want to grab him to slow him down. So to me, it's the development of and learning how to practice. And when you practice the right way, it shows up on game day. So it doesn't surprise you when they make these plays. Like Nick's still a work in progress, but he's also growing and he's also doing the things we need to see for him to continue to get better. And because he's working the right way. Told him after the game, like, hey, all that hard work from now till then and dealing with outside noise and expectations, like we know who you are and you know who you are. You keep working and you just keep working and you keep coming to work every day and just doing the right stuff and success is going to follow. So I'm happy with the way those guys, I think Coach Frey's done a really good job of teaching these guys how to practice and what it looks like to practice the right way.
The run game has been much improved the last couple of weeks, and obviously a lot of that is the offensive line, some of that's Rocket. But what are the conversations like with you and Coach Elliott as offensive coordinator and run game coordinator when you guys are designing a game plan every week?
Those guys get together, Coach Teasley and the guy that probably doesn't get enough credit for those things, Ryan Yurchek on the offensive staff, and he and I sit and we talk about the run game. We go tell him, hey, this is what we're thinking. And then Coach Teasley and Coach Blackwell and Coach Elliott, they meet on their own and we kind of merge our ideas and thoughts together. And it's I'm not the coordinator that's going to, like, a lot of people come in, hey, here's the run list. That's not me. Like, I'm going to have my hands involved in everything. So for us, like, I need to see it through my eyes because you can't say, hey, here's a list of plays. Well, I don't know. You take someone else's list and you're like, when do I call this? When do you like this? Why do you like this? So it's the staff coming together, kind of figuring out like, hey, this is what we're thinking. This is what y'all were thinking. And we try to merge it to make it the best we can. And you got to be on the same page that way with how we're going to use personnel groupings and how we use most offensive line guys like Coach Teasley and Coach Elliott. They see the box and they don't see outside the box. They don't see safeties, and most of them don't want to motion. I like to motion. I like to shift. I like to move people around and use your pieces the right way. So sometimes it's them just saying, hey, we like inside zone. Got it. Thank you. Hey, we like one back power. Got it. Appreciate it. And then we'll go build the formations and make them look the way we need to and because on top of that is you're trying to tie everything in together. And so you're trying to make it look like, all right, how do our play passes look? How does this tie into the triple options? How do we have enough gap scheme inside zones when they start moving and creating bare fronts and stemming and all those things? So it takes everyone on the offensive staff kind of to start seeing it the same way. And then so it just happens with, I'm in Coach Teasley's office back and forth all day saying like, hey, what about this? What about that? It's just from the run game standpoint. Like I'm sure Tease gets irritated with me because he and I are probably late night guys, and a lot of conversations happen after everyone's gone. And I'm walking into Lonnie's office saying like, hey, what about power? He's like, do we need another one? And I'm like, yeah, we might need it. And it happens when most people are out of the building, and it's he and I just grinding tape and trying to figure out the best plays we can run that week.
Obviously, you and Beamer, everyone's kind of talked about Lenoris being very mature, and I don't doubt that. I can see that. That's obvious. But at the same time, he's 19 years old and is on social media. Do you at all ever have to talk to him, kind of work through the emotions of seeing like people who were basically crapping on him week one and are now bowing down for him, and sort of what that process is like off the field?
Yeah, we started that process last year. He goes out and plays against Furman and does some good things. And he just feels how fast people jump on board and want to pat you on the back and tell you how good you are. That's not how society works. Like, it's what have you done for me lately type environment, crowd, what you want to say. So for us, it's educating them. It started last year. And yeah, you don't really understand that when you're 18, when you first get here and you're like, oh man, this is pretty cool. I'm the backup quarterback and I play behind a really good player. And when I went in against Furman and Vanderbilt, I played well. And now everyone's like, oh, I'm the future. I'm the next man up. Like, I'm a baller. And he is a baller. But it's also, there's going to be hard times that are going to come in this thing. And so you're going to get punched in the mouth playing quarterback. It's the hardest position in sports to play because of that. So then you start the year, and we don't start the way we want against ODU. We didn't play the game we wanted to play at that position. And he was nerved up, and it was his first time to be a starter. And so he's going through that process. And I kept telling him, like, hey, like, it's going to take time. Yeah. And you don't know what it looks like. You don't know what it feels like until you have to go do it. And then I'm sure in his mind there were doubt at some point. And he and I have had a lot of conversations when it's just me and him. And I'm going to keep those conversations private about what this position looks like and the successes that I've seen people have and the guys I've coached versus some of the dark moments that I've been a coach in some major media markets, Chicago, New York, Cleveland, Miami. These are hard places to be the quarterback in. And so to just keep educating him. And then all of a sudden you go and you get punched in the mouth against Ole Miss. And we didn't play well offensively. And he and I didn't perform the way we needed to perform to help our team win. And then for him then you got to make a decision at that point. Like, how am I going to practice? Do I believe in myself? And then how tough am I? The strongest people in the world are the people that can control their own mind. And so then you go back to work and you lose a game like Ole Miss. And on Tuesday, you got to get in the huddle again. And you got to make everyone in that huddle believe as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old that you're the best quarterback for that team to go win. It's hard. And when you got to look at your teammates and call a play like it's the best play ever called, and like you're going to go execute this thing. And for Lenoris, it talks so much about his character and his mental toughness to be able to go out and do that and then come back and just keep playing and just stay focused on the process. And then you got Steve over here that wants to give him every award this week. So then yesterday I have to grab him after practice and get after him pretty good because it's like, hey, look, you earn these awards and that's awesome, but it doesn't matter if you don't play well this week. And you just keep preaching that to him, and he's like, I know what you're going to say. I go, no, you don't, because Steve hadn't told him yet, hadn't had an opportunity to tell him that, hey, you got this, and that. And I was like, you don't know because there's more coming. And it doesn't matter. It's rat poison unless you go play well this week. This is the most important game. This is a championship game. Like, you have to focus on that every week. And so he is old. He has an old soul. He is mature. Some people would say boring. But he's level-headed, and that goes back to his mom and dad and doing like that. It's important at that position to stay that way because it's so easy to ride the roller coaster of emotion that comes with playing a quarterback. Because on Saturday night, you win a game like Missouri, the way we won the game in a 2-minute drill where he got us down there twice. The last 2 drives of the game, we had a rough third quarter. Like, it wasn't great. We didn't have a lot of possessions, but it wasn't clean. But at the biggest moment, like I knew we had a chance. When the ball was in his hands with 1:10 left or 1:06, whatever it was, I'm like, we're right where we need to be. And this is what I told him before the game started. I go, I hope it comes down to a 2-minute drill for you. I hope it comes down to that because it's going to be a tough game. And you're dealing with the point spread and all that other crap. And they hear this stuff. They hear the rat poison that's out there. And Lenoris does a really good job of blocking that stuff out. And you just keep educating him. We keep talking to him about that stuff.
It seemed like in the post-game conversation, everybody was excited when the shovel pass play was called. What inspires so much confidence in that play, whether it's from you or from the guys?
Well, the reason it got played in times of crisis, you think players, not plays. So there's 3 people that touch the ball in that situation. You got 16, you got 5, and you got 6. It was going to be one of those three because he's reading that defensive end. The defensive end squeezes out. He pops the ball on the perimeter to Josh. The defensive end ran up the field and he shovels it to 5. And they brought a Will Week safety pressure. When I saw the pressure was coming, I'm like, this is probably going to be better than I thought it was going to be. I didn't know it was going to score. I thought it was going to give us a chance to have a really good play and be, if worst case scenario, we're going to have a really good play and it's going to be, we're going to have a third down and manageable to go try to take a shot to win the game before we kick a field goal. And it was, so when we called the play, it was, in my mind, I'm thinking it's, these 3 guys, our best 3 guys are going to touch the ball in this moment. So it was an easy play call from that standpoint because you're thinking players over plays. And those guys went out and executed. Rocket did a great job running through people. The play was blocked well. Lenore's executed it perfect. The thing is, number 11, who is the first guy that hits him, he should be in the flat with Josh. So if the end would have squeezed, I think we put the ball on the perimeter. We had that thing blocked up, and I think Josh is going to score as well. So in that moment, it was similar to the play we ran against Alabama when to Oscar. It was we formatted different, changed it around a little bit. We changed the presentation of it, but it was a play that we had good reps on, good players touching the ball, and in that moment, when you get down there, the confidence is so high. When DeCamp made the catch and took it out the back door, and we were blocking them well, like in that moment, I think that. The shovel pass gets credit because it worked. Like I think there were a lot of other plays that could have worked in that moment as well because we had a confident group. Appreciate you guys.